if I sit down across from you at a bar or a restaurant, you'll see me take out of my back pockets my phone and a notebook. This is that notebook. And people will often ask me, why do you carry that notebook around? Is it for all of your ideas? Which would be nice. I don't have that many ideas, if I'm honest. My notebook has become mostly organization. And today I'm going to share with you how I run this notebook as an offer, as a way to share what I do. It's not meant to tell you what to do. This is something that works for me and something I've developed over the last decade at this point. And if you find it helpful, great. So here's the story. I started carrying a notebook 10 or 15 years ago. I think when I was starting to think of myself as a writer, expressly for that reason that people thought or sometimes think is the reason, which is that I would write down all of my ideas in it. But I noticed that, as I sort of jokingly said earlier, I don't actually have that many ideas. And what I was more using it for was making plans. And so over time, a kind of methodology has developed, and that's what we're going to get into. So first of all, this is the sort of notebook that I carry. This is a blank one. It's just lined pages, fairly small, fits in my back pocket, costs about $6 on Amazon. Incidentally, when I say that things cost like a certain amount of money on Amazon, I will inevitably get pushed back because people will say, well, you gotta buy local. Hey, the local store you buy your notebook, they didn't make this notebook. They're just a middleman, just like Amazon is. Nobody's really winning in that situation, but that's beside the point. Anyway, so here's how I look at my notebook. One of these lasts me about 3 months. Each page is a day, and that's fairly straightforward. I think where potentially I can be of some help is how I break up my days and also how I break up months and weeks. So let's start kind of in the middle with my weeks. Each week, I write down the things that I want to emphasize for the week. So you can see that we're really going to get into it here, guys. For this week, I want to make sure that I do 6 reading and writing sessions. Reading means that I'm actually looking at an old draft of a book, and so I'm working on reading and writing in 6 periods of time. I want to get 3 workouts in. I want to do fun, write. I need to do some tax stuff, as it turns out. I need to work on some plans for the next couple of months ahead. So those are sort of my emphases for the week. Each of them has a little checkbox next to it. And on Sunday, at the end of the week, I will go through and check what did I actually accomplish. That same Sunday, I will then plan the next week, which starts to give us a little bit of framework, which I think matters because I'm always amazed at how many people I meet who don't plan out their weeks. They just open their laptops on Monday and let it rip. And that probably worked pretty well if you were working at the Ford factory and you walked in on Monday and you were doing the same thing every week and your foreman said, go put that hubcap on that car, and that was the extent of your work. But a lot of us now are charged with working on really long projects that involve some amount of foresight and forethought. And that's where I think it helps to plan out your week. So now let's talk about the nitty-gritty of the days. My days right now consists a lot of coming here to the process, the place I run, to work behind the desk. So that means a lot of my schedule is devoted to time I'm going to spend behind the desk. So if I talk about that, that's a big chunk of the day. So on a very basic level, I'm looking at each of these lines, not necessarily as an hour, but something like about a half an hour of my day. And I'm scheduling out my day accordingly. So if I have appointments, they get listed from top to bottom. And if I have certain calls that maybe last a certain amount of time, they go in there too. I think the most helpful thing I can bring up is the fact that during my day, short of the time that I need to be behind the desk, I'm breaking the tasks that I need to accomplish into either deep work tasks or shallow work tasks. So deep work is, as some of you may know, a reference to Cal Newport's book, Deep Work. These are tasks that are going to take some pretty significant effort where I'm gonna really need to be locked in. In my days, I try to limit myself to 4 or 5 deep work tasks. So those may be, as examples in my world, often I have to send out big emails to our membership, which takes a fair amount of focus because I don't want to screw up and send it to the wrong email list or drop in a curse word when I shouldn't have. And so I find that that's going to require some real focused time. Obviously, the writing that I do takes a certain amount of focus or a certain amount of deep work. So that counts as a deep work task. Other examples from my last week or so, I needed to send out some pieces of writing to some individuals, to some specific people, and I wanted to personalize those, and that was going to take some effort. It was something I could batch all at once, so it goes into a portion of time that in this case I denoted as 15 minutes. So with my deep work tasks, I'm only allowing myself a certain amount of time to work on that. Usually my writing to start the day is between 35 and 45 minutes. Sometimes people will say that that's not enough. I think they're very much wrong, as witnessed by the amount of stuff I get done, but hey, that's just me. The rest of the time, most of my deep work chunks are going to be 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. Again, I'm also managing, running a business and being behind the desk. So I probably don't have as much time as a lot of people, but I think that's more like the norm than not. And then over on the far right, I'm got all of my sort of shallow work tasks. So I gotta email Tim back, or I need to pay Scott, or I need to try to find that one thing on my laptop. Things that I can kind of manage in the interstitial periods in my day. So that's why they get called shallow work tasks. One thing I want to mention about this tiny notebook, some people might think, oh man, I need a much bigger notebook. I don't think you do. I think there's power in the smallness of the pages because that constrains what we're actually going to be able to do in a day. I'm always amazed by people who have these really long to-do lists that never actually get done, and they're just sort of like rolling over constantly. One thing I really like about the tiny notebook is that I'm only going to put stuff on there if it can be done because I simply don't have space for anything else to go on there. So now, let's talk a little bit more broadly. Each month, I also roll out a little paragraph about what I want to see out of that month, and then I finish that paragraph with 3 words. So maybe it's a month where I've been dealing with a bunch of stress, and so one of my words for the coming month is something simple like recharge. Maybe that sounds a little bit hokey to you, but I've found it to be kind of helpful, especially because a lot of times I will look back at the ideas I had for the month, and lo and behold, I actually did that because I somehow internalized that that's what I need. So that's just a tiny bit of journaling. It's a paragraph about, hey, here's the state of things, here's what I'm thinking about going into the month, here's what I really want to concentrate on. And all of that goes in here. So as you can see, the beginning of January. Let's see, what did I write here? The first sentence was, the challenge now is patience. So I was thinking a lot about the business that I'm running and how January is usually a pretty big month for us, but I needed to be patient because I can't just like shoehorn people in through the door. And it went on like that, and my words for the month were calm and patience and recovery. This then gives me another thing to check back on when I get to the end of the month. I can go back and look and see, like, did I hew to that? Am I going to get a little closer to that in the coming month? I will mention, too, that at the end of my notebook, there are plenty of spots for ideas. There's book stuff. There's just little snippets about the business. I actually keep track, because I'm poor, of my daily spend. So I allot myself a certain amount of money each day, and I then chart like how much I actually spend. And now you might be thinking of this. You might be thinking, why would I want to do all of this? Why would I want to get a notebook when I can do all of this on my phone, can't I? The answer is yes. You could theoretically do all of this on your phone. But what I notice when I'm trying to jot down ideas, when I'm trying to manage my schedule, is that as soon as I pick up my phone in order to do that, I'm distracted by something else. This becomes almost like my own personal hard drive, where I'm keeping some stuff that's precious and sacred to me on this tiny notebook so that I know where it is, and so that I know that I'm not going to be distracted by my phone, by a text message from some girl that comes up, or the text message that doesn't come up, by an Instagram notification. This keeps it all in one place, and if we're honest, it looks kind of cool too. Nobody wants to see you playing on your phone at this point, but if they catch you writing in your notebook, they're going to wonder, what's that mysterious person up to? So not only does it have the advantage of helping you to organize your life, but might make you look a little bit cool too. And that's it. That's the story of the tiny notebook that you'll see if you sit down across from me at a bar. It's a daily planner. It's a bit of an idea keeper, but most of all, it's a way to keep yourself sane. I hope that's helpful.